Hello, today we're continuing on with Sophie Scott Goes South. I'm not sure if we'll even get it finished today, but I'll see how we go. So this is day 10. Brrr, I'm so cold I can hardly type. Last night there was a wild blizzard and I couldn't sleep. I was sliding up and down in my bed like a yo-yo. This morning the decks were covered with ice and snow and it was too dangerous to go outside. After lunch, the storm died down and the ship had to go slowly because the sea was covered with broken up ice. There were loud bongs as icebergs just below the surface bashed into the ship's hull. Adam, the first mate, told me these icebergs are called growlers. I loved looking at the ice cracking as the Aurora pushed through it, and while I was watching, a seal poked its head through the ice. It looked right at me and I waved and shouted, "Hello, seal," and then it was gone. Georgie said it was a crab-eater seal. They don't eat crabs, they eat krill. Maybe they should be called krill-eater crabs. I saw my first penguins too, 6 Adelies standing on an ice floe. They looked like tiny waiters in dinner suits. The sun didn't set until 10:30, and by the time I came inside, my toes and fingers were frozen. And here's a diagram of an iceberg where you can see how much of it is below the surface. And here again is that lovely picture of the seal poking its head through the ice. Day 12. Dad thought we would be at Mawson Station this morning, but the sea ice is too thick for us to go any closer. He's worried we'll get stuck if we keep going, so the ship has stopped. We can see the mountain peaks behind Mawson, and it's driving everybody crazy that we were so close, but we still can't get there. I helped sweep the ice and snow off the helideck so the helicopters can take the visiting scientists ashore. They only have a week to do their work, so they need to start straight away. Georgie went on the helicopter, but Sarah is still on the ship with me. We're keeping our fingers crossed that the ice will clear. Day 13. Hooray! Last night the wind blew so hard that it shifted the sea ice, clearing the way for the ship to get to Mawson. I stood on the monkey deck as we went in, and the wind was like a freezing hurricane. I couldn't hold my camera steady, and I couldn't stand up unless I was sheltering behind someone. Dad steered the ship into tiny Horseshoe Harbour and parked her like a car. People from Mawson sped out to the ship in rubber boats. They picked up the mooring ropes and took them back to bollards on the rocky shore. Soon the Aurora Australis was tied up safely. I felt very proud when I heard people saying what a great skipper Scotty was. So there you can see the heli deck with someone sweeping it and a helicopter. And then here is a beautiful picture of the mountains that a little boy from Carlton drew, and I coloured in. Day 14. There's the double page spread. Day 14. This morning I was so excited about going ashore that I woke up too early and Dad made me go back to bed for a while. After breakfast we climbed down a rope ladder to a barge waiting below. It was scary trying to hang on with the ship moving up and down. When I stepped on land, my smile was so big it felt like my face was going to crack. I was standing on Antarctica. The ground was rough and rocky with patches of snow. Thick ropes linked all the buildings, and Sarah told me this is to stop you getting lost in a blizzard. We walked up to the red shed, the big building the Mawson people live in. As soon as I got inside, I started to feel sick and dizzy. It felt as though the building was heaving like a ship, up, down, up, down. I didn't feel seasick on the ship, but I was seasick on land. The station leader, Janie, said this happens to lots of people. She welcomed everybody and told us the station rules, then we helped put away supplies. There were huge boxes of toothpaste, toilet paper, soap and shampoo, and massive amounts of food like 5,400 eggs and 165 tubs of ice cream. Later, Georgie took me for a walk and we watched a Weddell seal scratching his whiskers with a flipper. He was groaning and moaning, and I think he'd eaten too many fish. He was going, It was good to get back to the ship tonight and show Dad my photos. Katrina bought me dinner in bed because I was so tired. And there's a close-up of the Weddell seal scratching his nose. And a lovely picture of this Weddell seals under the ice. So here's another big double page about everything that happened when they were ashore that day. This is day 15. When we went ashore this morning, Sarah and I explored around the station. We had lunch in the red shed, then Jeff, the station doctor, took us for a drive up to the plateau. We went in a Haglund, which is a kind of snowmobile. It was very noisy and bumpy. As we went up the hill, the Haglund couldn't get a grip and kept slipping backwards towards the sea. I was thinking how bad it would be to crash into the freezing water when Jeff finally gunned it to the top and we all cheered. Before we got out, we hooked spiky chains under our boots because the ice was as slippery as glass. I took some photos, but we didn't stay for long because it was so cold. As we bumped back to the station, the sky went dark and hail started bashing against the windscreen. When we got out of the Haglund, it was snowing so heavily we could hardly see. Sarah and I held onto the ropes between the buildings and finally got to the red shed. When Janie called Dad on the radio, he told us we would have to stay ashore. The weather was too wild for us to go back to the ship. It was a blizzard. I was stranded in Antarctica. Georgie put a mattress on the floor of her room for Sarah and me, and we were like little mice snuggled up together. Just before I went to sleep, Georgie played me a recording of a Weddell seal singing under the ice, and its lovely song stayed in my head all night. They make a noise, they make kind of electronic noises like and there are lots of the things. This is like an Antarctic caravan. It's called an apple hut. And there's a picture of a Haglund and the red shed that Sophie stayed in. Day 16. This morning the wind was howling and the walls of the red shed shook as though a monster was trying to get in. It was way too dangerous to go outside. 14 people from the ship were stranded ashore and we all helped with the jobs. I dried the dishes and helped Sarah mop the floor. Everyone was kind to me, but I felt lonely and worried about Dad. I watched the ship swinging from side to side and it looked as though the ropes would break for shore. In the evening, the blizzard got so strong that we couldn't even see the aurora. It was a whiteout. And there you can just see the ship, and then the snow's getting heavier and heavier until finally it's disappeared. Georgie and Sarah played polar Scrabble with me, and I think they let me win. After lunch, Janie gave me the phone so I could talk to Mum and Alfie. While Mum was talking, I could hear the magpies singing outside our house. By dinner time, the blizzard had died down. It was still too dangerous to go back to the ship, but we were allowed to go outside. When Georgie and I went walking, we had to hold on to each other to stop being blown over. We saw an Adelie penguin completely covered in ice. Georgie said it wouldn't feel cold because penguin feathers are such good insulation. Sarah made this picture of an emperor penguin and I helped do the dots. And here's another lovely picture of a very white Antarctica with lots of animals in it. If I hurry, we might have time for one more page. Whoa! I wonder if I get stuck on the pages like that. Here we go, there's the red shed. Last night, Sarah and Georgie woke me to show me a surprise. They helped me get dressed. We went outside and they pointed up. A band of light stretched across the sky, shimmering and dancing in front of the stars. It began over the sea and swooped above us in a wide stripe of neon green. It was as though a ghost had zoomed across the sky, then disappeared with a flick of its tail. It was an aurora. They're caused when particles from the sun crash into the Earth's atmosphere above the poles. In the Arctic, it's called aurora borealis. In Antarctica, its name is aurora australis, the same as our ship. I woke to a sunny day today and a nice surprise because Dad arrived while I was having breakfast. It was great to see him and he hugged me until I had to yell for a breath. I took him to see the penguins and we had a go at the climbing wall. Dad was hopeless, but I could climb like a spider. After that, we went back to the ship. We have 2 more days at Mawson, and when we leave, there will be no more visitors for 7 months. Only 16 people will stay here for winter. That's when Georgie will ride her quad bike over the sea ice to Australookery. She'll live on nearby Macy Island in a tiny red apple hut and study the emperor penguins. There are more than 20,000 penguins there. That's a lot of penguins. And here, I'll say goodbye because we're running out of time. Here's a lovely picture of the aurora.